With its massive frame and overwhelming strength, the grizzly is hailed as the silent king of North America's wilderness. Yet behind that majestic presence lie brutal trials of survival. Join us as we follow the extraordinary journey of this predator, both powerful and vulnerable. Across the dense forests and endless plains of North America, the elk stands as a symbol of wild beauty and enduring strength. With its towering frame and wide antlers branching like forest limbs, the elk embodies the proud spirit of a true leader of the herd. Yet life in the wild is never peaceful. When the grizzly appears, the supreme predator of the mountains, the air turns tense. In the open field, the elk raises its antlers, bracing for defense, while the bear advances with a low growl, ready to strike. The clash between these two mighty creatures becomes a fierce symphony of survival, where only instinct and strength decide who prevails. By the quiet riverside, two moose graze peacefully on tender grass. Suddenly, from behind, a grizzly bursts out in ambush. The sudden attack startles the moose, sending them fleeing headlong into the rushing river to escape the predator's grasp. At the forest's edge, the grizzly lies in wait, its cold eyes fixed on a migrating herd of elk. Patient and focused, it watches a small calf that's fallen behind the group. When the moment comes, the bear bursts from hiding, its powerful strike bringing the prey down. Seconds later, the calf is dragged into the bushes, claimed as the grizzly's prize. On the rugged mountainside, the grizzly roars and charges forward, its heavy steps thundering as it chases the fleeing herd of moose. But with superior speed and the advantage of the terrain, the herd quickly climbs the steep slope, leaving the predator far behind. Exhausted, the grizzly slows, then stops, its weary eyes watching helplessly as the prey escapes into the heights. In the dense forests and icy swamps of North America, the moose, the largest species of deer on Earth, strides proudly with antlers like a crown. They are symbols of endurance and resilience, able to survive in harsh conditions year-round. Yet this peace is sometimes shattered when the most dangerous predator of the wilderness appears, the grizzly. When the bear draws near, the moose does not always flee, but instead often takes a defensive stance, lowering its head with razor-sharp antlers, ready to deliver a fierce strike. On one side stands the raw muscle and hunting prowess of the bear, on the other, the size and defiance of prey not easily subdued. Such encounters are vivid testaments to the brutality of nature, where hunter and hunted alike must give everything to survive. By the stream, a moose is busy foraging when it suddenly comes face to face with a group of grizzlies. Sensing danger, it swiftly retreats, slipping skillfully into the deep forest to escape the attack. By the riverbank, a grizzly waits in silence, its watchful eyes fixed on a moose mother and calf wading in the water. When the calf becomes the target, the mother suddenly charges ashore with unexpected strength and fierce determination. Caught off guard by the surprise attack, the grizzly freezes, then bolts in alarm. Through the mother's bravery, the calf is shielded and escapes the predator's grasp. By the rushing riverbank, a moose struggles to flee. Behind it, a grizzly charges forward, each heavy stride closing the gap. In an instant, a powerful swipe sends the moose stumbling, crashing into the water. Seizing the moment, the bear clamps down and strikes straight at its prey's head, leaving it no chance to fight back. Dragging the carcass onto shore, the grizzly asserts the absolute power of a ruler in the wild mountains. On the endless white expanse of the Arctic, the polar bear, the ruler of the frozen seas, reigns supreme, with its massive frame, flawless white camouflage, and masterful hunting skills. Farther south, amid the mountains and forests of Alaska, the grizzly holds its crown, with raw muscle and unyielding spirit. These two giants belong to different worlds, yet at the harsh frontier where their paths cross, a clash ignites. On one side stands the endurance and resilience of the polar bear, on the other, the explosive power of the grizzly. It is the moment when nature reveals its fiercest and most brutal face, where power belongs only to the truly strong. Along the icy shoreline, with the wind howling and waves crashing endlessly, the carcass of a large prey drifts ashore and quickly becomes the center of attention. From the depths of the forest, a grizzly emerges, heavy yet commanding in presence. From the frozen sea, a polar bear arrives, its eyes blazing at the prize before it. The two colossal bears face each other, the distance closing, as their roars thunder louder than the surf. The grizzly stands grim and unyielding, like a mountain of stone, while the polar bear embodies the endurance and grit of the frozen north. The carcass becomes the reason for an inevitable clash. Amid the frozen rivers of North America, the salmon emerges as a symbol of resilience, with its epic upstream journey to spawn. Scarlet schools hurl themselves against the raging currents and towering rapids, defying countless lurking dangers. Yet there, the gray bear waits, a patient predator. When a salmon breaks the water's surface, the bear strikes in a lightning-fast blow, turning the river into a battlefield of life and death. On one side is the desperate struggle to preserve a species, on the other the blood-bound instinct of a ruler, painting a scene of nature both brutal and magnificent. On the icy rivers of Alaska, as the red salmon begin their upstream journey to spawn, nature awakens in a breathtaking spectacle of life. Shimmering schools of crimson and silver fish hurl themselves against raging rapids and pounding falls, driven by the instinct to carry on their kind. And it is in this very moment that the grizzly bear, the mighty predator of the wilderness, appears, turning the riverbank into an arena of life and death. With its massive frame and overwhelming presence, the bear stood patiently at the base of the waterfall, cold eyes fixed on the foaming rush of water. It knew that with the slightest misstep, the prey would slip past and be gone. But when the moment came, the bear roared and lunged forward, its enormous claws tearing through the water, tossing the struggling salmon into the air. In an instant, the river exploded with spray as the shimmering fish fell neatly into the bear's sharp jaws, ending its brutal journey. The wind whistled through the riverside trees, the roar of rushing water blending with the predator's fierce growls to create a majestic symphony of nature. For the grizzly, this was not just a feast, but the very source of life to store energy for the harsh winter ahead. For the salmon, each thunderous strike was a stark reminder of fate's fragility in their struggle to endure. The hunt, both brutal and magnificent, etched a timeless truth of the wild. The strong survive, the weak fall, and the eternal cycle of life and death continues unbroken in the frozen land. Across the vast plains of the northern mountains, the bison, symbol of wild. Yet even such a mighty creature cannot escape the trials of harsh nature. In the dense forest along the hillside, the grizzly appears, its sharp gaze tracking every move of the herd. When these two forces meet, the land itself seems to hold its breath. The bear roars and the bison lowers its head, ready for the clash between two symbols of wilderness power, where only courage and strength decide who will rule. At the edge of the forest, two massive bison turn their heads in unison, their wary eyes fixed on the grizzly. Sensing the danger closing in, the bear lets out a low growl, then swiftly slips back into the forest, leaving behind the furious horns, ready to charge in rage. By the roadside, a herd of bison grazes peacefully, unaware of the danger lurking nearby. In the bushes, the grizzly crouches low, its cold eyes locked onto every movement, waiting for the perfect moment to strike at a calf in the herd. At the foot of the mountain, a lone bison stands tall in the open plains. When the grizzly blocks its path, it doesn't back down. It lowers its head, horns gleaming, and charges like a storm. The ground trembles, dust fills the air. Facing such raw power, the grizzly roars, then turns and disappears into the deep forest. In the dense forests and vast valleys of North America, the elk emerges with majestic beauty, its massive antlers like nature's weapons. They are gentle grazers living in herds and relying on vigilance to survive. But in the wild, that peace is always fragile. The grizzly bear, a powerful predator, often lurks at the forest's edge, waiting for a chance to strike at a calf or the weak. The encounters are tense and unforgiving. Adult elk fight back with the strength of their colossal antlers, while the grizzly unleashes the force of its claws in deadly pounce. It is a moment where life and death are separated by a single breath, revealing the brutality and the grandeur of nature. In the icy river, white spray erupts as a breathtaking chase unfolds between the grizzly and a moose. The massive moose throws all its strength into the current, hoping the raging water will carry it to safety. But behind, the grizzly presses on relentlessly, each stride heavy yet unyielding. As the distance closes, the bear launches a fierce attack. The moose fights back with its mighty antlers, striking in desperate sweeps. Yet in the freezing water that cuts like knives, its strength begins to fade, each defense weaker than the last, until the battle tilts in favor of the predator. In Yellowstone, a grizzly suddenly appears, sending the entire herd of moose into panic. In an instant, the thunder of hooves fills the air as the herd bolts into the deep forest to escape the predator. By the quiet riverbank, two moose graze on tender grass. Suddenly, from behind, a grizzly bear bursts out in ambush. The surprise attack startles the herd, sending them rushing into the swift current to escape the predator. On the mountainside, the grizzly charges after a moose. But the clever prey dives into the rushing river, forcing the bear to give up. At the forest's edge, the grizzly silently watches a herd of moose on the move. It waits with patience, eyes locked on the weakest calf. When the moment comes, the bear charges forward, its strike swift and precise, bringing the prey down. In an instant, the calf is dragged into the underbrush, quickly becoming a meal for the predator. Horns and a body weighing a ton, the bison can stand as a living fortress against any foe. But nature is unforgiving. A massive gray bear suddenly appears, eyes flames. Thunderous roars mix with the sound of pounding earth as the bear strikes with lightning-fast blows, while the bison lowers its horns, retaliating with hammer-like thrusts. This clash is not just a struggle for survival, but a majestic portrait of the wild, where true power alone decides who reigns. At the forest's edge, two massive bison suddenly turn their gaze toward the gray bear. Sensing imminent danger, the bear let out a low growl before swiftly turning away, slipping skillfully into the deep woods, leaving behind the fierce horns ready to charge. By the roadside, the herd of bison grazed quietly, unaware of the danger creeping closer. From within the thicket, the gray bear crouched low, its cold eyes locked on the weakest in the herd, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. At the foot of the mountain, even a lone bison was enough to make the scene feel breathless. When it spotted the gray bear blocking its path, it did not retreat, but lowered its head, horns gleaming in the sunlight, and charged like a storm. The ground shook with each heavy step as dust rose in thick clouds. Taken aback by such raw power, the gray bear roared, but quickly turned away, slipping into the dense forest. By the stream, a moose grazes peacefully on fresh grass when it suddenly comes face to face with a group of grizzlies. Sensing the danger close in, it quickly turns and bolts, weaving through the thick trees before vanishing into the deep forest, escaping the tense pursuit. By the riverbank, the grizzly stands watching, its cold eyes fixed on a moose and her calf standing in the water. When the calf moves into range, the bear takes a slow step forward, ready to strike. But suddenly the mother moose charges onto the shore, attacking fiercely with the raw power and instinct of a protector. Caught off guard, the grizzly hesitates, then retreats in haste. Thanks to her courage, the calf is safe, free from the claws of the forest's most feared predator. In the rushing river, a moose panics and flees, with the grizzly charging hard behind. In a split second, a powerful swipe knocks the moose off balance, sending it crashing into the water. The grizzly pins it down, striking at the prey's head, then drags the body to shore, asserting the absolute dominance of the mountain's true ruler. The journey of following the grizzly bear has come to an end. But their story continues out there, in the deep forests and towering mountains. Every click of a like, every share, and every subscription you give helps spread the message of protecting nature to more people. Together, let's keep the roar of the grizzly echoing forever in the wild.